meeting. I want to recognize a couple of guest folks in the audience. We have Darren Gore, not you, Steve. We have Darren Gore and Mayor Shane McFarland, I see in the audience. Stand up, take a bow. Yes, thank you. The city is going to give us an update on some of their research on solid waste as we get later into the evening. We have a full agenda, so I'm going to try and keep us on pace. So if I seem a little curt, is that the right word? Curt? It's not my personality, it's just that we got a lot to drive through. So, approval of the minutes, correct? Rachel, do we have minutes to approve? May I call on Vice Chair Steve Piercy for the review of those minutes?
Chairman Cush, I have reviewed the minutes and find them in order and will move for their approval.
Need a second.
Second.
Any comments? All those in favor signify aye. Any opposed? Thank you. All right, do we need a roll call, Rachel? Are we good? Okay, we're all here. Everybody's here. So moved. Okay, good. All right, moving right along. Highway Department, we have 2 representatives from the Highway Department this time. So that means they must want something very badly.
We're trying to get fast like this.
All right. All right. You take as much time as you need. Let's do it that way.
And I don't know in what order. Drainage easement approval first.
All right.
Actually, it's maintenance. Correct some issues some folks are having out there. I feel like this is going to be very beneficial to the people that live out there. And they have signed this. The people that this will impact the most are not the ones that had to sign for this easement. So then being good neighbors, they signed, the people that needed to signed off. We're going to go in and clean out some ditches and improve some drainage on that street. This was approved yesterday morning by the road board, and I bring it to you guys tonight.
Motion to approve. As submitted.
Second.
All right, all those in favor signify aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Greg, move on.
Okay, next we have 2 budget amendments. So we're going to be spending money. I don't know if we can do both of these or they're going to need to be voted on independently. One of them is for some new equipment, and one of them is for some state aid paving funds. Can we do both of those at one time, or you want to take them one at a time?
You know which one it is?
We're just doing one at a time. Okay. The first one is to purchase a new piece of machinery, and it's just moving money around inside of our public works budget that already exists to make up the difference of what we had in our equipment line item and what we're going to need to make this purchase. So we'll be moving money from $65,000, which is our PW account, $65,790 will increase by $12,000, and $65,418 will decrease by $12,000. Again, this is to purchase a piece of equipment that we'll use in our day-to-day operations.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve.
All right, thank you, Chairman P.
Second.
And we have a second. Let's go on the board since there's money involved. Rachel?
Commissioner Blair?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris? Yes. Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Chairman Cush? Motion passes.
All right.
Okay, the next thing we have for your consideration is a budget amendment for a state aid road project that we bid yesterday at our road board meeting. And this is to do an increase from our state aid funds that exist at the state to from 131,46,420 to increase it $1 million, and then $68,726 to increase that $1 million to pay for the work. So it's just kind of pass-through money, if you will.
Move to approve.
We have a motion and a second from Pearson.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
what roadway are we talking about?
That is Barfield Crescent Road, 4.1 miles from Veterans Parkway to Armstrong Valley Midland intersection.
When will that work commence, Greg? Do you have an idea?
As soon as we get the contract back from the state, we have been told by the state that we're kind of near the first of the line this spring, so we feel like it'll be a pretty fast turnaround, and the contractor that was awarded the contract said that they would be able to start once we have that contract back, executed contract back from the state, and we have our pre-construction meeting. They'll get right on it.
Okay, thank you.
Could happen as early as May.
Great, all right. With any discussion, we'll do a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris? Yes. Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Mr. Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Blair?
Yes.
Chairman Cush?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, the next little thing I have for you tonight is our 2022-23 full operating budget. Again, this was approved unanimously at the road board meeting yesterday morning, and it's here tonight for your consideration and then approval to send it on to the budget committee. It is, I'm assuming that you have what I have, which is the first sheet is a budget summary. But you can see that it did not change much from our budget this year. The difference, you will see, any significant difference you see between the upcoming year and the current year will probably all reflect the Plainview project that we've wrapped up. So that's the difference that you'll see in your sheets there. But if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Anything I can't answer, I'm quite sure Miss Mary can.
So you show, if I'm reading this correctly, you are showing a decrease in budget from last year.
Yes, and again, that's really reflective of the Plainview project that we finished up last year. We had to move some money into our annual budget this year to wrap that work up with, and we didn't have to have that in our budget for next year.
Okay.
So that's why it's a pretty large sum.
Yep. All right, and so this is a summary sheet that ties on to the other budget expenditures that are also attached in our iPad? Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, are we going to, is there a need to go over those by item, or how do you want to present that to us tonight?
Well, I'll do it however you want to. I can tell you that if you want to move straight to the totals, expenditures, and the total projected revenue, you can see that we are planning to expend $12,329,724, and we are projecting a $12,779,774 revenue. So we're to the good we're in the black, but barely. Now, if you want to know specifics about anything on the expenditures, I'll be happy to go, or revenue, I'll be happy to go over those with you. It seems like it would be a little cumbersome to go over
Overkill.
the whole
All right.
thing.
All right.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. It looks like you're able to give your folks some raise, or
Correct.
you've got some new personnel, the 236,000.
A little of both, actually. Yes. Yes and yes.
Are you getting to a level that you're, for lack of a better word, pleased with? Is it?
In the number of employees?
Number and pay rate. I know that it's always a challenge to get your guys up high enough to be competitive, and you know, you feel pretty good about the morale of your folks and this effort to.
I do. I feel like over the years that we have had a lot of cooperation from our road board. They have always been receptive to my raise suggestions, and that's also been the case with, you know, this body and budget committee and the full commission. So I feel like we've come a long way in the last few years, and I feel like our employees would echo that sentiment. We could always use, you know, some more help. You know, in this day and time, it's a good market out there. You know, so there's a lot of opportunity for folks that want to work. So we have to try to stay competitive to be able to recruit, if you will, and then we have to stay competitive in our pay to be able to retain these folks. So it's challenging, but we do what we can. We feel pretty good about what's being offered here and what has been offered in the past.
Chairman Cush,
Yes.
if no one
Yes,
else
sir.
has any questions, I move this on to the Budget Committee.
Second.
Good. We have a motion and a second from Phil Dodd.
I do
yes.
have a question.
Sorry.
It's same question Commissioner Dodd's got, and that have to do with salaries. And of course, we're doing a study that we should be getting back this month.
Right.
Will that change or influence what you do as far as salaries, or are you locked in on?
I will be very interested to see that. Unfortunately, you know, we're kind of early on because we have to submit our operating budget to the road board, you know, pretty early in the cycle, if you will. So we didn't have the luxury of waiting for that thing to get back to see, you know, what it revealed. I feel like it will be very telling. I think the pool that we get to look at this time is a little deeper. I think you know, what I'm being told, we're looking outside of our county and at some comparables that I feel like are more in line with what we have actually grown into here in Rutherford County. So I'll be very interested to see how, you know, what that does reveal. To answer your question directly, which your question is, you know, could that salary study sway our opinion of what our raises are going to be? I can tell you that our raises that are represented in this budget are not going to go down. If that salary study says that we're going to have to come up even more to stay competitive, then we'll try to find a way to do that. I do feel like that this is significant. This amount of raise that this budget represents is significant already.
Roll call. All right, we have a motion and a second. We're time for roll call.
Commissioner Harris? Yes. Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Blair?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Chairman Cush?
Yes.
That's
Mary or-
all I have tonight.
Okay, thank you. Mary or Greg, could you email me the specifics on that state aid project? In terms of start, you said at Veterans to, I think, Armstrong?
Armstrong Valley, which is Barfield Crescent in its entirety. It's 4.1 miles.
Okay. Just, do you have our plans out yet? plans or construction plans, design?
It's really just an overlay.
Okay.
It's not a rebuild, it's just an overlay.
Any widening?
Actually, I guess it's been 3 years ago now. Time goes pretty quickly. We went out 3 years ago and widened
Yes.
Barfield Crescent Road.
Right.
Paved the shoulders on both sides, an additional 4 feet.
Right.
And so this new street will encompass the entire paved section out there.
Okay.
And then after that, then they'll add a little bit of shoulder stone to make up the discrepancy between the new mix and the old ground.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a really nice road
Perfect.
out there.
Yeah.
Sure is.
It's a dangerous spot at sometimes.
Well, it's like everywhere else. We just have, the traffic volumes that we're looking at is, it's amazing how much growth there's been in the last, 10 years. It's staggering, really. Difficult to keep up with.
All right, thank you, too.
You're welcome.
All right, Doug. Oh, I'm sorry, Tanya. My bad. I'd much rather have you come up than Doug anyway.
Good evening, Chairman, Mayor,
Good evening.
Commissioners. I'd like to present 2 small budget transfers initially before my monthly report, if I could. The first one is for gasoline. I would like to transfer $3,000 from our other contracted services to our gasoline line item, just to cover the increase. Sorry.
Will that make it through the year for you, do you think?
Yes. That's got a little cushion in it.
Motion to approve.
Okay. We have a motion and a second from Blair. All right. Let's roll call that real quick.
Commissioner Piercy,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno,
Yes.
Commissioner Blair,
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd, Commissioner Harris, Chairman Cush.
Yes.
And the second one is for communication. We are going to be shy about $400 this year, and this is a budget transfer of $1,000, again, from other contracted services to communication.
I don't see that one, but I take your word for it.
Yeah, I don't see it either. Tanya, you moving, I think I heard you say you're moving from one line item to another. Motion approved.
$1,000, yeah.
Okay.
Second.
All right. Any questions? Roll call.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno,
Yes.
Commissioner Blair,
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd,
Yes.
Commissioner Harris, Commissioner Piercy,
Yes.
Chairman Cush.
Yes. Do you have a copy of that for the record? Okay.
All right, so our monthly report. This is a new monthly report this month. It's going to look a little bit different than it usually does. We launched our CityWorks software as far as residential permits are concerned this month, so the monthly report looks a little bit different, but we're going to go through it together because it's the first time for me too. So we issued a total of 401 building permits this month. 95 of those were single-family dwellings, as opposed to last month when we issued 328 permits, and I don't know how many single-family dwellings because I didn't write it down. And last year, this time, we issued 510. Last year, March of last year was our biggest month on record. This time last year, we issued 510 permits. 120 of those were single-family dwellings, for a total revenue of $152,573. And there's 2 pages of this permit. They're broken down based on the type of permit that was issued. There's the total fee that was collected, and then the total job cost right beneath it, and then the number of the permits that were issued beneath that. If you have any questions on that, I'd be glad to answer. If not, I'll move on. Development tax collection for March was a total of $88,500. And school facilities tax was a total of $773,020.
Questions? Continue on.
And that concludes my report for this month, unless anybody has any questions.
Gentlemen?
Total revenue from development and the square foot tax round up to $4 million, 2.9 and 980,
For the
correct?
entire year combined?
Yeah.
Yes.
April, May, June, 2 or 3 months. So you're going to be off from, you're going to have less than our last year's development tax.
We are.
So,
Slightly,
I
but
know
we
you warned
expected
us, and
that.
you warned us it's
Yes.
going to catch up. And I know Craig's been kind of drilling down on that the whole time. Do you feel like you still feel optimistic you'll catch up? If that's the right word, but is it trending the way you expected?
Next year? Yes. Yes. It is. I do feel confident that if our numbers stay, our permit issuance numbers stay the way they are, square footage is definitely, the square footage method of tax collection is definitely outweighs the development tax, without a doubt.
Motion to approve report.
We have a motion from Dodd. We have a second from Sereno. All those in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. That motion carries. And thank you.
Thank you.
Tanya. All right, Doug, I guess you can come up.
Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well tonight. First part of our monthly report is the available lot inventory. Just as a review, this is the number of building lots that are available now for building permits, those that are recorded. As of March 31st, we are looking at 700 lots. That's down just slightly from last month, about 709. We did have a larger plat or two recorded, which kind of took up the slack of the building permits that were issued, if you will, so that's why you are seeing a little bit of a decrease. It's holding pretty steady around the 700, 600 mark for the last several months, really, but that just gives you an idea. You can see this time last year was about 780, so we are down in our inventory from what we did have this time last year. Again, just so for review, this is just the unincorporated area, not for the entire county. Also on there, I won't go into as many details with this, but you see the development tax and versus schools facilities tax report. Again, the development tax number of lots will continue to decrease as that inventory is used up. The schools facilities tax will increase, and that'll be the one that really fluctuates more over time. So the numbers do add up. I double-checked to make sure that the 700 available lots that we had were reflected accurately in this other report. So any questions on that? All right. If not, we'll go ahead and move into the second part of our report, and that is our rezoning requests. We have 2 coming before the Board of Commissioners at next week's meeting, neither of which had a whole lot of comment on them from either the Planning Commission or the public. The first is by Amy Dearman. This is located along Sharp Springs Road. The existing zoning is residential medium density RM, and they are asking for commercial services zoning. As a way of just giving you a little bit of a review of this property or this area might look familiar to you just because of the fact that the applicant actually brought a request for adjacent property back in 2020 at 184 Sharp Springs Road, which is immediately adjacent to the subject property. That request was made due to a zoning enforcement action. The business that she operates, it's a sign and lighting business. She was operating it out of the structure at 184, and there was also a large amount of open storage on the subject lot. So that's kind of what brought it to our attention in the first place. She brought the application forward. The application for commercial services for her business at that time was approved, and she has since also cleaned up the open storage on the subject property. She now is asking to zone approximately 1 acre of the larger tract of the subject property to construct a building to house her trucks and sign materials, basically an expansion of the existing business. No open storage, and this would qualify under our construction sales and services, which is allowed in the commercial services zone. Concept plan has been included with your agenda materials. Things like access and parking, landscaping, and also performance standards will all have to be confirmed on an engineered site plan should this application be approved. Again, there was very little discussion on this. The Planning Commission did vote to recommend approval of this by a unanimous vote. The second request that we have for you today is for property located along Las Casas Pike. This is by Miss Melinda Brown Black. This property is about 3 or 4 different tracts of land along the road. She's looking to zone 3 parcels of land. She's asking for them to all be zoned also to commercial services. She's looking to do something on the lines of maybe a small commercial strip center, something like that. Nothing concrete at this point, but considering some of the development in the area, it's immediately adjacent to some commercial services zoning. There's other commercial zoning in the area as well. She is asking for these properties, which are currently undeveloped, to be zoned for commercial purposes. Again, should this be approved and any development be brought in for consideration, an engineered site plan would be required. Again, after staff's presentation, there was very little discussion from the Planning Commission or the public on this item. There were some questions about portions of the property being within the 100-year floodplain and what the county's requirements would be should development occur on that site. Following that discussion and the public hearing, the Planning Commission did recommend approval, again, by a unanimous vote. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Doug? Doug, you explained that very thoroughly, apparently.
Apparently so. Thank you.
Do we have any motions to accept Doug's report? We have a motion from the co-chair. Who seconded? Wayne? All right. All those in favor? Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Doug, thank you. That was short and sweet.
Mr.
All
Chairman.
right. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, Mike Hughes was unable to be with us tonight. He has another meeting, and he asked me to bring this before under this report, and it's concerning the intersection at, hang on just a second. It's at the State Route 10, Rock Springs Midland Road. State Route 10 is a divided rural, other principal arterial with 4 travel lanes and a left-hand turn lane. Right now, since from 2017 through 21, over that 5-year period, the severe crash rate is 0.405, which is 2.9 times higher than the average. State average is 0.140. Over that 5-year period, there's been 38 crashes, 1 fatal, 1 fatality, and 4 serious crashes that were life-flighted. So this project is going to be funded through TDOT. The total estimated cost of improvements is listed to be at $2.5 million, with right-of-way acquisition to be required. What has to happen is a maintenance agreement for us because of the installation of a red light. So TDOT is requesting the maintenance agreement with Rutherford County is going to be required for them to redo the entire intersection and install a red light. So we will be responsible for taking care of the maintenance on that red light. So that's what I'm looking for tonight, Mr. Chairman.
So we need a motion to accept that.
That's correct.
Everybody understand that? Okay. We have a motion, and we need a second. You have a question, Robert?
I'll wait on my question. I will make a motion to approve this, though.
Okay. All right. Need to be on record for that. Is there money? There's probably money.
There will be money. That's correct.
Let's do a roll call.
Mr. Sereno?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris? Yes. Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Chairman Cush?
Yes. All right. Okay. All right. Item 5 on the agenda is a update from the City of Murfreesboro on the solid waste progress. This developed from a mayor's meeting that I believe was on Monday the 21st in room 205. A very good meeting. All the mayors were in attendance of the cities of Rutherford County. And Darren, come on up. Power. I love the power. Okay, all right. So Darren's going to give us an update on kind of the city thoughts and kind of just give a broad brush of where the city is at this point. What we intend to do going forward with our discussions is certainly have the cities be involved because this is a team sport. Our solution, we hope, is a team sport. So, Darren, you have the floor, and enlighten us on your thoughts and the city of Murfreesboro's thoughts.
Great. Thank you, Commissioners, Mayor, Chairman, for giving me the opportunity. So, you get into this and you kind of go down a rabbit hole, right? And so I've been working on this quite a bit. And if I got really deep, and it's like they don't want me to go that deep, let me pull back. So I still have some stuff that may be a little too deep, but I think it's good just to show that there's a level that you have to get to, I think, to make these big decisions and get to that granular level of the data. So the first thing I just wanted to say is, why am I here? So we wanted to let you know how the city of Murfreesboro has been approaching its solid waste disposal solution, anticipating Middle Point landfill closure. And that's been primarily through developing a robust business case model that compares various scenarios in helping to determine the least cost, highest benefit solution over time, and I call that a pro forma. I use that word all the time. That's really trying to project expenses and revenues into the future. In this particular case, I try to carry it through FY 2035. And then determine if any of those solutions have certain intrinsic values, right, that justify maybe even paying higher fees to achieve a better quality of life, and that's the stuff like the zero odor options, right? I think the next option we go with solid waste, we don't want there to be an odor issue. Creating a beneficially reusable product, which is the diversion percentage we keep trying to achieve. Reducing the greenhouse gas emissions, improving traffic by restricting, outside trash coming into the county, a lot of those type things. And I wanted to summarize some of the recent events and activities that may be of interest to you, and finally, reinforce the city's desire to align and partner with the county. So I came into this, and I'm showing the diversion spectrum, the options, right? So these are the three options that I've kind of boiled it down to. Not that these are the only three options. I'm sure there's an infinite number of options here, but the 0% diversion option, which is transferring all of our garbage to another landfill, that's really what everybody else does, and that's probably the safest bet. It's the simplest business model. You just build a facility to transfer it and haul it to another location. The con is that you don't have any control over those, the distance, the tipping fees you may be charged, hauling costs, the gas prices, and of course, it has the least environmental benefit. You're just kind of kicking your garbage into another hole in another community. So you look at the 40% diversion, that's kind of a materials recovery, curbside. I think that requires curbside recycling. I'm trying to get into I haven't talked with Pratt, but I'm kind of trying to get into the mode of talking what Pratt would be looking to do for the county and what they've, when we sit down with them, I think we're having a meeting with them at some point, and they can fill in maybe some of the assumptions. If I made bad assumptions or good assumptions, or, they can kind of help with that. But the pro is, we look at recovering 40% material that is curbside collected, and it does have, so that diversion, it has a better environmental impact. The con is that you're still, landfilling 60%. It requires, from what I've heard, outside importation of solid waste. I think it's going to require a 2-container pickup, right, because they're going to want to sort the community to sort, do a sorted recyclable, one-stream sorted recyclable. I could be wrong. That's going to require public education because we really don't know how to recycle. We have a lot of contamination, and we've all talked about the fact that when you recycle and if you have contamination, if the material recovery facilities determine that it's contaminated, they charge you through the nose, right, for that contaminated material. And then kind of the last thing looking at is the 90% diversion, which is the waste away. The pro, obviously, it's a 90% material recovery for beneficial reuse. Actually, I take that back, it's 70%. 20% goes to other, well, it is 90%. I'll take that back. Only 10% does go, 70% goes to fuel. The other 20% is recyclables, and then the other 10% goes to, has to go to a landfill. It's a 1-container pickup, and it does have that highest environmental benefit with the least amount of greenhouse gases and carbon footprint. The con is, as we've all said, finding a buyer. Who's going to buy this stuff? Who's going to enter into a long-term contract to use it as a coal substitute? So that's it. So then I'm going to talk real quick about building the business case model. This is what I deal with, that pro forma. So you have expenses, right? Costs, you got capital expenditures, debt service depreciation, operational expenditure, hauling cost, disposal, tipping fees are typically in the landfilling component. And then you've got user fees, right? If you're charging the public for a particular fee, or if you're charging tipping fees to if you're letting an outside agency come in. Again, I've kind of tried to highlight these to say the solid black lines, you got a high internal control, but there's a few things like the hauling costs and the disposal tipping fees we don't have so much control over. The 40% diversion option, you can add in contamination fees to the expense, and you can add the material recovery revenue if you can get that material recovered and somebody purchasing it. That'll be an additional revenue. And with the waste away deal, it's pretty much kind of like the 40%, but you don't have, there's no worry about contamination, right? So when I use the term pro forma, I'm going to use the word recovery a lot. 100% recovery means that your revenues equal your expenses. If you're over 100% recovery, then your revenue's good. Your revenue is exceeding expenses. If you're under 100%, then the revenue is a shortfall to expenses. Before I get into that, though, I want to compare truck and rail freight costs. I know we've talked about a transfer station that could utilize rail versus maybe using trucking, and I just Googled it, quite honestly, guys. I said, my Google was, what does a typical rail car cost per mile to carry freight per ton? Maybe not the best grammar, but it came back and said that typically on a per ton mile, and this is an old study, 2015, but it said truck was 15.6 cents and the freight was 5.1 cents. So I kind of took that as it's about a third, right? Per ton mile, the rail is about a third of the cost of a truck per ton mile. So then I kind of went into, this is where I start getting into some math, but you can see I changed the, let's see if I can get this highlighter. Laser pointer. I changed that to 0.175 and 0.06, right? Since, that's kind of close to what I Googled, but it's a little higher because gas is up and it's 2022 and not 2015. So those numbers would have to be vetted. This is Darren Gore just making up the assumptions here, but it's about a third of the other. So to if you're taking a semi-truck to Camden with a 225-mile round distance, applying that factor, it's almost $40 a ton just for the freight cost. If you take a rail car to Adamsville, Alabama, and I chose Adamsville because apparently that's where New York is sending all its sludge down to some landfill just outside of Birmingham, and I thought, well, that may be the landfill of choice if we use a rail system. But it's 400-mile round trip, so it's $24 a ton to get it to Adamsville, Alabama. So I don't know this is an unanswered question. When does CSX say, at what tonnage do you have to generate to get rail interested in you? I don't know. If you've got to get 5 truck, I know a rail car takes 100 tons. Do you have to have 5 rail cars per day, 6 rail cars per day before you can get a good deal on rail freight? Or, that may be the deal of having to bring in a lot of outside trash to just fill those rail cars to get a lower haul rate. This is where I kind of got, again, made up some assumptions. I assumed that there's if you say $45 a ton at tipping fee for Camden, your overall cost to take it to Camden you're going to have to cover $84 a ton. If Adamsville, Alabama, say charges 30, again, those numbers can change. I'm just trying to show you I think that they said the average tipping fee in the U.S. is like $40 a ton. You'd have to get $54 to cover it, to cover the haul plus the tipping fee. So I use those numbers, whether they're right or wrong. But I kept them, the thing is I keep these consistent between all the scenarios so they kind of wash out. If they're lower or better or we need to change them, you can change them across all the different scenarios, and again, they kind of wash out. So this is a lot of stuff, and I won't go into it, but this just to show you, this is the tonnage generated and the number of customers I assumed, annual operational and capital expenditure, debt service, haul costs, disposal fees, expense and growth rates, right? I did factor in the fact that we're going to increase cost as we go into the future, and the growth is going to have to be accounted for. And then curbside recycling, I kind of had all those curbside, the diversion rate, the contamination fees. Again, I'm just building the model, and the inputs can be changed at this point to whatever you want. But where I got to is that, if you charged for Murfreesboro, and I did it for Murfreesboro, I just did it, said, hey, if we charged our citizens $25 per month and the commercial folks $60 per month, we could do a contract operated transfer station with materials recovery, 40% for diversion recycling, and we could get into that positive pro forma, where our revenues, we could generate enough revenue to cover that cost. And $25 is not bad, right? I mean, I think everybody that does private hauling pays more than the $25, but so I went and I said, so that's the option there. If we charge $25 at $50 tipping fee, that's 102.6 recovery in FY35. That's not bringing any tonnage into the county. If we did a city-operated transfer station, that number goes down a little bit. We can go 24, 45, and I've got capital funding amounts in there too. And then finally, the waste away. It's you can actually do a waste away if they get $1 per MMBTU, which is selling that fluff for $19 a ton. You can get it's actually you can only charge $21.50. And the 45 tipping fee, and you get that same over recovery. Then I said, well, what if we charge it $2.50 per that's a metric million British thermal unit is what MMBTU is. Like gas guys work in MMBTUs. I work in tonnage, but if you brought in 100,000 tons a year outside, this would be inside the county, say Murfreesboro's 52,000, say the county's around 50,000, and we could get commercial and other retail folks inside the county to bring another 50,000. You really can get that tipping fee down and the residential fee down. And I did, so then I looked at, if we did a contract-operated transfer station, taking it to Camden, and I kept the outside, that could keep it, when I say outside, that's inside the county. I mean, you don't have to import, I think. If you're at 100,000 tons a year, that could be fed from what's inside the county fairly easily. But if you charge 25 and went 50, this is where you got 87% recovery. It actually goes down when you bring that in, and then to cover your costs, to get to that 101% recovery, you have to charge $80 per tipping fee to keep your residential fee at 25. If you wanted to keep your tipping fee low and get the over recovery, then you have to charge $31 per month for the resident. Then I said, what about rail? Taking it to Adamsville, Alabama. And I know this is kind of boring, guys, but I'm just doing this to show you you can start running a lot of scenarios. And I said, what if we brought in 100, 150,000, 200,000 tons outside? And you can see at 25 and 50, it stays around that. The reason it goes down a little bit is just because I do have that 3% expense going in there per year. But it pretty much stays flat. You're kind of covering that hauling fee at that $50 a ton. So I kind of graphed it out to show the solid lines are really the trucking, and you can kind of see the trucking has the lowest recovery. The rail is better recovery. Waste away actually has the best recovery if you can sell that for if you can sell it for that $1 per MMBTU. The more garbage you bring in, it actually does slightly over recover more for this pro forma. The thing that I realized, though, is I didn't know if we brought the reason the triangles, that's the actual 40%, it shows the circles, which is taking it just to another landfill with the transfer station, versus the triangles, which is that recovery. I got confused at this at first because I thought, why is the transfer station with a 40% recovery, with a 40% diversion, why is that less recovery than just taking it to another landfill? Then I realized the way the pro forma is set up is that, if you contract operate the transfer station, you've got that fixed recycling cost. I mean, you're having to put new trucks and new men, and new drivers, and you're only really capturing what you curbside collect if you don't require the outside tonnage to also bring in curbs or sorted recyclables, and you're just bringing in raw trash. Then you can see that diverted tonnage just becomes what we pick up, curbside. And that's why you can see that diversion rate goes down if you bring in more outside total trash versus what we're collecting, curbside recyclables, the diversion rate just goes down. Again, it could be that if you bring in outside trash, they could bring in sorted recyclables as well and change that number. So I'm almost done. Key takeaways, providing twice a month curbside pickup. That's going to be about a $2.5 million annual expense, 7 trucks, 7 drivers. That's every other week that I assumed. That's twice a month. And you got about $7.5 million of capital cost, and that's about $500,000 in debt service. And the $2 million is what I said for bringing in new drivers. Educating the public would be big. I mean, we need to make sure there's no contamination to avoid those contamination fees. And then, again, the 40% diversion only applies to those who are single-stream curbside recycling unless you require it from the outside folks. On the waste-away deal, the short-term opportunity that they're actively negotiating with the cement kiln near Chattanooga. And the long-term opportunity we've talked about is that they're continuing to work with TVA to see if they could supply fuel at the Gallatin steam plant. Again, we're looking between $1 and $2.50 per MMBTU. That's about $19.47.50 per ton. Something I was just brought up on Friday, Mark Brown with Wasteway brought up this renewable fuel standards. They're actually now sorted MSW can produce renewable. We've talked about renewable natural gas using an anaerobic reactor and getting compressed natural gas. they're actually making that eligible for these compliance credits in the form of this renewable identification numbers, and those are credits that's the currency, right, of this renewable natural gas or this renewable fuel standards program. So they're saying for $4 million we can put a anaerobic reactor and it's going to generate $2 million annually. Now, that's a subsidization. I think the federal government's going to pay us 10 times what the normal cost of natural gas is, but hey, if they're going to do it, we may want to, pay off your capital costs in 2 years. That's a pretty quick payback. So I had questions, comments, but I did just get a text from Mike Webb with Waste Away, and I was hoping I would. It was about 4:30. They did just get today. They did finally get that California deal. They approved. I've got $1 million in here. He texted me $750,000. But they did just get that contract in Kern County, California, Bakersfield, to go into full design for a waste-away plant. So, and I think he said it in his text. Let me just read it. It said they just approved the next $750,000 of project funding for design and have moved full project funding into approved budget. They've spent 4 years vetting, going through RFI, RFPs, and being compared to all competition. Now they're telling us they want it yesterday. So they're going to be stepping on the gas out there in California to get this thing built. So again, I just bring this up to show you kind of the level that we're trying to go to, that I'm trying to present to the council so that they have data to make the most informed decision that they can make, and putting all options in there and trying to create the model so that if variables change, we can change the variables in the model and see how it affects the outcome. But I'll tell you this: if Waste Away can successfully negotiate a $1 per MMBTU sell price for the fluff with this cement kiln and get into a long-term contract with them, I would probably lean towards moving forward with them right now. Yeah, but again, it depends on the long-term basis of somebody buying that fuel. But I can answer questions, or if you got any comments, be happy to. I don't know if that meets anybody's expectation of what I was supposed to do up here.
Darren, remind me again what California is going to utilize their fluff.
It's a cement kiln. Yep, it is. Okay. It's a kiln. They're going to. I think I've got copies of the letter in the proposal. If I get a text from Mike Webb that says yes or no, maybe he may be watching right now and tell me that. But I believe it's a cement kiln.
So they have a contract with an entity that is basically going to make.
I don't know that for sure. I haven't seen a contract between Kern County and a cement manufacturer. I have seen every major. I've seen Mark Brown has brought in several letters of intent from just about every major cement manufacturer that demonstrates a letter of intent that they would use this fluff in their cement kilns if they had access to it. The problem with cement kilns is they are remote, just like landfills. They're kind of dirty. Mike Webb said yes, contract. So I guess they've got a contract with somebody.
One thing that intrigued me when you spoke with the mayor here last Monday, 2 weeks ago, was that Waste Away, unbeknownst to us, Waste Away's kind of had some advancement, and we had dismissed Waste Away, for lack of a better term. I had anyway. So one thing that is intriguing, Waste Away seems to be catching some traction for MSW.
This is when I read. This is, and I've got copies, and I can give you a copy of the. It's online, the agenda item, but they started in June 11 of 2019, where the Kern County Public Works requested and received to issue a request for statements of interest, or RFP, related to programs and processes that would assist the department and the county in achieving the waste diversion requirements implemented by the state of California. 2019 is when Wastaway got their comfort letter from the EPA that said that their fuel was equivalent to coal or wood. And then 2020 came and the pandemic hit. In 2021, we still, and we're still dealing with it, the ramifications of that a little bit. But to me, this started when they got that comfort letter, and it's just stalled because of the pandemic. Now that we're back, I'm not going to say business as usual, but back to somewhat normal business, it's taken them, he said 4 years, but maybe they were probably working on it a lot longer before this, but at least for the last 3 years, I think they've been on hold.
The pro forma you did that you had up, you were using, you had an assumption of number of residents or households, I guess.
We have a pretty good record of the number of carts we pick up. So when I say we've got a combination of residential carts. We've got about 43,000 or 42,000 residential carts and about another 4,000 or 5,000 of commercial carts that we pick up.
So all the numbers you had were city,
that was
pretty solid quantities from the city.
Yeah, that was if the city, again, I looked at the scenario of the city went alone and we did 52,000 tons a year and didn't include anything else, but then I looked at a scenario where if we took another 50,000 from outside entities, 100,000 or 200,000 tons, and how that moved the needle, so to speak, on the recovery.
Can you go to the slide that just had your cost to haul it off?
Well, okay, so you see this one here. This is the zero I put in here. This is zero outside tonnage. So this is the cost to the city if we just did 52,000 tons per year at those varying options. And you can see, man, it's just not that it's not that much difference. I mean, there's not a whole lot of, I mean, you're talking $21.50 a month versus $25 a month. That's one thing I kind of got my eyes open to here, is that not one of these solutions is just head and shoulders going to be that much lesser expensive than the other. The trucking,
your gross cost at zero additional tonnage and at 25 per household, what was your gross cost, your expense?
Right, well, if we did, crap, I don't know, I may have to pull up my spreadsheet to do that.
I'm sorry, I thought you had it on one of the...
Well, if we took it, that's 30. If we did 25 and 50, you're only recovering 88%. If we did 31 and 50, then you get into that recovery percentage. Now, the rail does have a little bit of a benefit, but all these options bring in outside trash or outside solid waste. So I would have to go through, and I could pull up my spreadsheet and show it to you if you wanted me to.
Yeah, just trying to get at what is your budget to transport your current 50,000 tons a year out of here. I thought you had that number up there. Forgive me I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Well, it's going to be 20. It's going to be between 21. It is going to be between 21 and a half and 20. And when you say, I don't have the.
How many residents do you have? How many households about? The $25 times how many households?
I'd call an audible here, Phil, and I'll show you what I got.
And Chairman, I'm going down this road. Stop me if it's not productive. And the gentleman, stop me. I'm trying to look at, the city's done a whole bunch of homework, so that will indicate what is the yearly cost to transport out of here, and so what that would be somewhat similar to what our cost would be, because their tonnage is similar.
Yep. So this is if we just transferred it to a landfill, Mr. Dodd, and we capitalized $18 million for a transfer station. These are kind of our fixed costs here right now for curbside collection. I added some additional costs in when you start the transfer station. So that 114.5. If I go to, let's just say 22. $105, so you probably get down to 21 or 20. So, yeah, so somewhere between, so 21 is where we're looking at to get to that 100% recovery. That's if we took it to Camden. Oh, no, I take that back. That's if we got it hauled off. I've got costs in here for freight. This 600, 100, so if I go to Camden, $225, and the tipping fee is $45. We're charging 50. That gets to 24 here. Again, it doesn't. Let's see, just 24. Yeah, that's 102%. So $24. It's $21 if by rail, $24 by truck. And that's at 52,000 with no outside city tonnage. And that's 42,675 residential carts that we're picking up per week.
And your annual costs are 6, 7, 8 million?
It's going to be, no, the full revenue. So the revenue is a little above. It's 19.2, well, okay, if you're looking back here at FY27, you're at 16.1 million, and you're at 99.6. So your expenses are going to be real close to that, too.
If we just started hauling our stuff out here, it would cost us, our budget would jump $16 million a year. What's our current budget, Bishop? Chairman, we're 8 million,
halfway
8 to 10?
Yeah, halfway there.
So that would jump to, it would cost us, the current budget plus $15 million to haul our stuff out of here.
Well, again, we're doing curbside collect, so you could probably take, I'm looking at our annual operating costs of $6.5 million right now. That's really for curbside stuff. So you may be able to, if you're not doing curbside collection as a county, you may be able to take that off the top.
Yeah, we're handling 50,000 tons a year. If we take that to a transfer station and we haul it out of here, our budget's going to go up several $million a year, bottom line. And I digress.
Okay.
But that's helping me just kind of, we need to understand what is it going to cost us. Nobody's giving us a number. If the landfill closes, what the heck is it going to cost us? This is helping us get close to that because your tonnage and ours are pretty close.
Right. We're doing curbside collection, y'all aren't. That's a significant cost. I mean, the curbside collection is really, that's a high dollar venture.
Our budget is similar managing our convenience centers. We're somewhere in that $8 million a year.
Yep.
$8 million a year to carry it to the landfill at no charge, and they're paying us $800,000 a year.
Right.
If landfill closes, $8 million is going to still continue, plus transportation out here is going to be another 10 or 12.
Okay, gotcha.
So we're a $20 million budget. Our budget goes up 3 times if landfill closes. That's just.
And you could build, I mean, this is the thing about it is you can tailor, I mean, this is a situation where you build your model, right? You build what expenses you want to take on, how you're going to charge, and what type of revenue, it's that basic building block pro forma, where are your expenses and where's your revenue coming from? And then you just build it out and you project.
Correct.
Darren?
Yes, sir.
Questions?
Yeah.
Number 1, good job.
Thanks.
Number 2, the thing, and you can answer it if you don't want to answer, I understand. Did y'all give a $50,000 to Waste Away to the beginning for the app?
$55,000 task order, yes, sir.
Then I can't remember because I was looking at my notes and I can't find them. I think the next round is $1 million.
I don't know. I don't know that. It may have been 200. Yeah, I think there's a feasibility, and then it goes into design.
Okay, in your numbers, and I was trying to follow through with you. I'm one of those guys that like to study, so
yeah, gotcha.
I'm throwing off the hip right here. But Ed, do you have the cost of building that facility in your numbers?
Yes, I'll go to the Waste Away. I've got $45 million for the cost of that facility.
And what are you currently charging now for curbside?
$7.50 a month for residential.
And you're kind of seeing that it would go up to around 25, 21, 25?
Yeah, somewhere between 21, 25, right.
Have you checked in, on when you look at shipping, have y'all checked in for, like, how many years one of those landfills will give you as a tipping fee guarantee?
I haven't looked at that. That's the kind of stuff that you're right. I mean, depending on how much tonnage and how good a deal you can get on the haul and the tipping fees, I just made some numbers up based on some averages.
That's fine.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
fine.
yeah.
And is the city, at this moment, willing to do business with Waste Away?
I think if they can find a long-term buyer, it's an if, but yeah.
It's a big if, would you
Yeah,
agree?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I think, well, again, I know they're actively talking with the cement kiln in Chattanooga. If that doesn't coalesce, I've kind of said it the other day at the mayor's meeting, there's a short, the short game and the long game. The short game is we got to find an outlet to take the trash if Middle Point closes in 2 or 3 years, and a transfer station is zip it out of here, take it to Camden, take it somewhere. And then you just wait and you see if Waste Away ever does secure that long-term contract, then you can pivot. But yeah, it's when I say we're willing to do it, that's the council's decision. It's just it would be my recommendation to the council if they can get a long-term contract.
Thank you.
So, Darren, if Waste Away became a reality,
Right.
you don't need a transfer station, you just take it right to Waste Away?
Yes, right. You take it to Waste Away, and the deal is with Waste Away, like all things mechanical, there will be times that it doesn't work, or that it has some type of preventive or routine maintenance requirement. So there will be times that you have to take that trash somewhere to another landfill because Waste Away's process will not be. I don't know what that percentage is, if that's like Nissan. What is Nissan? They shut down 2 weeks a year for maintenance. I mean, if you do a 2-week shutdown per year, I think you can use the Waste Away facility. You would use it as a transfer station at that point and load trucks to take off to some landfill. But there would be that short period of time that it would be shut down, unless you built 2 of them.
Do you envision potentially Waste Away being at the transfer station or on the site, or I just?
Yeah, I mean, if we had our, we just bought the site there off of Joe B. Jackson, right off the interstate. That would be, that's where we were going to put a transfer station. Matter of fact, the transfer station, I got the new cost estimate of $18 million for that transfer station, and that made me go, whoa, that's, you're getting almost 40% of what it would cost to build a Waste Away facility at $18 million. So I think we're going to design the transfer station, but we're going to hold off until we absolutely, and we're going to let this whole thing marinate and wait to build that thing at the very last minute at this point, because I can't justify. I always said the transfer station we would gain a bunch of efficiencies from our curbside collection because we're waiting so long at the landfill. But for $18 million, you got to get a lot of efficiency gain to pay off for an $18 million building.
How many acres did y'all acquire?
25, something like that. I actually had looked at first to get a transfer station there, and then have a location sited behind it or adjacent to it for a Waste Away in case. I mean, that'd be the thing to do if we wanted to do the transfer station because we didn't have a long-term buyer for the biomass. Build the transfer station, do it, but kind of keep an area set aside if that ever came about.
Is Waste Away a MRF? A MRF of some sort?
It's a single stream.
They take solid waste and do whatever
it takes the solid waste. It takes out 20% of the plastics and metals. It takes all the 70% converts to fuel, and 10% you still have to take 10% of it to the landfill. So there is still a landfill trucking cost.
It's Waste Away working with any other entities in Middle Tennessee, to your knowledge?
Well, again, I think our contract with them got them some interest when they started talking to TVA, they have talked to Sumner County. They've talked to Sumner County, and they've talked to, I think, they may have talked to Williamson County as well. I'm sure I think they've talked to some others, but I'm not 100%. But they've generated a little bit of momentum with this whole TVA discussion in Middle Tennessee.
Go ahead, Wayne.
Before Darren leaves, would it be permissible, Mr. Chairman, if I could let him put on his regional
Yeah, sure.
solid waste ad before he
If
leaves?
if he so
Hold on.
he wishes to answer.
Yeah, sure. Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. There's a meeting Thursday night at the airport, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Is there an agenda out there?
I have not received one. I'm actually, I know Bishop's on the board as well. I have not seen, that was kind of a special called meeting by Mrs. Donna Barrett. I'm actually going to be at the city council meeting because I've got several agenda items that I'm not going to be able to be there, but she did secure a quorum for that meeting. I don't know what the agenda is or what type of motion she wants to put forward to the board.
You like an uncomfortable question?
Sure.
At the last meeting at the airport, and I have the report, but I don't have the gentleman's name, the engineer that made the
Yes,
report
yes.
regarding the aluminum solid waste.
Right.
Very credentialed, my understanding. Of course, at our meeting, the temperature from the vent wells were discounted. Is that something that is continually to be monitored?
I think the TDEC requires Republic to monitor those ground monitoring temperatures, and I know that elevated temperature is a concern for me, even just as a citizen. And the aluminum dross underground fire, if you will, that's occurring out there, that I'm pretty convinced is occurring. I think to discount it is irresponsible.
I like the long pause. Let's just let that soak in for a minute. Let me go back to Waste Away, Darren. Is this going to be one of those hurry up and jump on board all counties? If TVA, Sumner County would be the home of the Gallatin Steam Plant, right?
Right.
So they're obviously all in, right?
They have a solid waste authority in Sumner County, by the way. Just
okay. Would the Gallatin Steam Plant demand enough fluff that there's enough in it for Sumner, Rutherford, and others? Or is this the first one to the plate is the big winner?
No. So this is, in talking with Mike Webb and Mark Brown, TVA is using about 10,000 tons of coal per day at that steam plant. In order for their greenhouse gas, for their carbon footprint that they're currently using coal, in order to get that carbon footprint to be to equate to a natural gas-fired power plant, they have to offset 20% of that coal with the fluff.
Okay. So
That's 2,000 tons a day. That is, TVA's concern is there enough trash within a 45-minute travel distance to supply 2,000 tons a day? So they're actually asking Waste Away to go out and look at kind of the breadbasket, and is there enough trash to do that 20% offset?
Chairman P.
We, of course, I think everybody on this committee has toured Waste Away, and I personally like the people. I like what their idea is. There's a lot of positive things there, but you brought up, the main reason we hadn't stepped off in that direction, or at least I hadn't felt that, is because they have not secured a buyer.
Right.
And, that's the bottom line. Until they can do that, You know, that's a problem. Now, another problem that I have personally with them is I would like to see the current landfill that the county owns and that we, all of us citizens of Rutherford County, including Murfreesboro City, are having to maintain and pay for year after year from now on. I'd like to see that dug up, cleaned up, done away with. Now, I point blank asked Waste Away, would you work with us if we got a process to dig that up to get rid of our landfill? And they emphatically said no.
Okay.
Okay. Last time that we had someone come to us and present, and they have a similar, I won't say a similar process, they have a similar product that they put out, and basically it's a fuel, kind of what, Waste Away is saying that they will use in place of coal.
Right.
Only these folks have a buyer. And they are putting a facility together. Is it Crossfork Cookville? Guys, and I don't, the name of the company escapes me right now. I didn't bring my notes.
MBL?
But anyway, they're going to be inviting us to go tour that facility.
You're talking about the Cookville?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. And that's supposed to be pretty quick, April, May, somewhere in there. But I'd like to invite you especially, and anybody from the cities, from municipalities, anybody to be interested in seeing this, because it interests me, because they did say, yes, they would work with us to mine out our old landfill and do away with that liability. Because we're talking about, something long-term and a headache, and two, that facility could be, or that landfill could be used for other purposes. And I think in the future, to me, I want to recycle as much as we can, and I want to find an alternative to just either burning or throwing stuff in the ground and worrying about what it's doing to my water, and listening to the odor. And the positive thing about Waste Away and about these folks too is at the end of the line, what they have left over that has to be landfilled is basically inert.
Right.
And it's not going to be making the smells that we have. Now, if we had a system that is going to be producing an inert material, now, I don't mind landfilling that. I don't want a lot of stuff coming from outside the county if we can prevent that. And if we do, I've always said, well, if we did that, we'd put it in Interchange City on the rail. So we don't have these trucks coming in on our roads and messing up with our traffic. So there's things we can do to work with somebody like Waste Away or this other company. But, those long-term is what I'm looking at, is taking care of this problem that we got right now. And unfortunately, Waste Away doesn't want to help us with that.
Well, I'll say this. I know Waste Away went and met with Pratt about their process and what they were doing, and see if they could team with them. I feel, I've met with Mark and Mike enough to know that if there's a teaming opportunity between Waste Away and MBL, I'm sure they would be willing to explore it, and I'd be happy to go to Crossville or Cookville or wherever y'all go. I'd be glad to do it.
Well, I mean, if you could convince Waste Away that they could help us with digging that out, now that would change my attitude toward working with Waste Away, because somebody that emphatically tells me, no, there's no way, and that's basically what they did,
Right. I got you.
Two, what I wanted to continue to say along those lines, with somebody like Waste Away or this group that is generating an inert product at the end of the line, but it still has to be landfilled. And, we're looking at the cost and what it costs us. Now, no, I don't like the idea of continuing to have a huge mountain growing out on the north end of our county here. It's getting bigger every year and smellier every year. And, those guys, they got a lot of problems. But if we were only taking our own trash, we were generating inert material that did not smell, and only for us, that's something I could entertain keeping. But until something like that would come down the pike, I'm not interested in expanding a landfill. And I know if you go back and look, and you know which one of us commissioners this affects most.
Yeah.
There's 3 of us right here right now that it probably affects more than anybody else, other than I think maybe Commissioner Rather. He's in the mix with us. But, you know, we voted repeatedly not to let them expand.
Right.
And because of the problems they're causing us.
Right.
So, you know, we're all in this together.
Yep.
And we want to work with you. And
Yep.
I want to work with the city of Murfreesboro and Laverne, Smyrna, Eagleville, all of you guys.
Right.
If we can get into, you know, all pull in the same direction, I think we can make a difference. But we need to look at everybody's concerns, you know, not just city of Murfreesboro, not just the county, not just Smyrna, Laverne, Eagleville. But,
Right.
you know, guys, we can do this if we work together.
Agreed. Well said. And I think just with digging up the old landfill, I don't know if it has any energy value to convert it to fuel. It may have value to convert it to a building product. I don't know. That would be something that we would need to vet and understand. But I think that basically it's already kind of decomposed to the level that it's not going to have enough BTU value to make a fuel at that point. That's just I'm just speculating at this point, but the building product stuff may very well be still viable if you dig it up and make it into building products.
Any other questions for Darren? It's been most enlightening.
Thanks, guys.
And thank you for your thoroughness.
Oh, yeah, I felt like I was cramming for a college test when I came in here today. You guys had me.
It was very good.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, Bishop.
Thank you.
And by the way, Darren, if you didn't know, we are meeting with Pratt on Tuesday, I believe, of next week, right? Tuesday, 9 in the morning, 9 to 11 in room 205. They're coming back to chat with us. Yeah, I think. Okay. Okay. Very good. All right, Bishop. You have 5 minutes.
Good evening, Chairman, Mayor, Commissioners. First on the agenda is my reports. Let's start off with the landfill report. We had a total revenue at the landfill of $7,731. That's with $6,020.16 of free services and a collection of 240 tons of brush material. We have recycled 422.39 tons, and we disposed of 2,173 tons, 0.34. We had a driver total with recycling and collection of 4,115.20. Last Saturday, as you know, we sponsored by TDEC, there was a household hazardous waste collection event that was at City of Murfreesboro's Florence Road facility. At that event, we collected 7,195 pounds of material. The state paid $15,548.64 at no cost to us. That concludes that portion of my report.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Last time you was here, we had a situation that we had to deal with as far as you having containers that were full.
Yes, sir.
So how's that worked out?
First off, thank you for asking that question. I'm a little distracted with the other things going on. I meant to put that in my report. It's working out well. In fact, I called them this morning to pick up 8 containers off the hill yard. It's done. They've been collecting the materials when asked. They're bringing it up to the landfill. The landfill times have been slow for the last 4 days of operation, so they come in, but they haven't been on the hill yard every day, which means that we're able to keep up. So So yeah, I think so far it's working really well.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, continue on, Bishop.
The next item for your consideration is a budget amendment request for On-Site, which is the leachate pumping company. We are at the end of the last draw on that money, and I request $75,000.
Will this get you through the budget year?
Yes, sir, it will.
I'll make a motion to approve his request.
Second.
All right, any discussion? So total, does this show that to date you are $325,000 spent on that leachate? Okay, all right. Would you roll call us, Rachel?
Commissioner Blair?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris? Yes. Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Chairman Cush?
Yes. All right, Bishop?
Okay, the next item is the budget request. I've got several different accounts, so I'm going to go by account, and if there's anything that I'm missing or skipped over that you need discussed, please stop me. I think the first, I'm looking at landfill operation and maintenance. I'm not sure what the order is that it's on your iPad. I printed these out and kind of stapled them together after the fact, so I can keep up with you, whatever's best for you all. What's the first thing that you ever...
I have a solid waste capital budget that shows automobiles. What I have.
Oh,
okay, I'm sorry.
I must have left that.
Here we go. I have a budget worksheet, yeah, okay, that's the first one.
Okay.
That's 2023, 101, that looks like this. Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Before budget, before he continues, our director continues, we're not discussing any of the salaries. So what I've done with each one of the departments as they come in, we start actually down on second. We actually start on 307 and work our way down from 307, because anything above that is dealing with benefits, salaries, and et cetera. And because of the pay scale that will be brought up this coming Thursday night at budget, so we haven't even dealt with anything through these budgets as I've sent them forward to each one of the committees. So we start actually with the communication and work your way down from that standpoint.
Okay.
Now, so we have other waste collections. I believe that's the first thing. That is effectively the Haley Road facility. The large change in there will be listed as about 2/3 of the way down. It's listed as the Haley Road project. That I'm requesting $125,000 for that project. That's to demolish the old Humane Society building that's there and replace it with a steel building to be able to store and compact recyclable materials, recoverable materials, to reduce the amount of loads that we have to take out of that facility. The next thing on that list, and it is in there as, I would say, probably a placeholder pending TDEC's, getting word back from TDEC on what they're going to do as far as the recycling rebate grant, which is a grant that we qualify for being a top 5 county. It has been on pause and we haven't received it. I've been asking TDEC about that grant, when it's going to be released, and they haven't released it yet. It's a matching fee fund grant. So that $100,000 that's at the bottom is for that. Any questions about the other waste collections portion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I got an ignorant question. How many budget worksheets are you going to be presenting ultimately? This is one, other waste collections. Do you have, because there's only
The
one on
employee
our,
benefits and the miscellaneous are.
there's only one on our
Yeah, I only see-
SharePoint.
I only
Are you
have
presenting
one on
all
the
of them
pad.
tonight, or just this one?
Just the one.
Okay.
Yes, so I've got landfill operations, I've got convenience center, and I've got post-closure costs.
Okay. And those will just be presented on another night?
Yeah, there's only one on the
only one on the iPad.
SharePoint, so we'll bring those up.
I apologize, I thought that those were all sent to you.
Chairman, can I ask a question?
Yes, you may.
All those budgets that you have,
Yes.
all put together, what do they equal?
I'll tell you the exact number. $7,938,300.
So if that's okay, Bishop, can we save the missing ones till next time, or does that put you in a?
I apologize for that. I didn't realize that was the case.
All right. But what we do have on the iPad is some vehicle requests. Do you want to talk about that tonight?
Yes, please, and I don't have that sheet with me, so.
Well, you want this one? Hold on.
This is for vehicles, for leased vehicles. We have currently we have a 2018 Dodge dually vehicle that I roam around in. It's the vehicle that we have. And we have an older Chevy Silverado pickup truck. It's got probably 130,000 miles on it. And working out of an old ambulance with my maintenance vehicles and an even older Chevy pickup truck for my mechanic vehicle. These leased vehicles would be a vehicle for myself, two Chevy Colorados, one for my convenience center coordinator, one for my administrative staff and their requirements, or have a vehicle to be able to go back and forth to deliver stuff to the square from the landfill, and then one F-250 service vehicle to replace the vehicle that's currently our service vehicle. There is a $5,000 down payment that's in this. I broke this out over the length of the terms. The first three vehicles, their lease ends in 26, and the service vehicle's lease ends in 27, or 28, excuse me.
Oh, sorry. All right. Any questions on that 5-year capital budget plan? We looking for a motion, Bishop, to add that to budgets? Okay.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Rachel?
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris? Yes. Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner P? No. Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Blair?
Yes.
Chairman Cush?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, before Bishop gets away, my question.
Yes, you may.
And I hope I hadn't been asleep at the wheel, but of course, with the improvements that's coming along with Weekly and Walter Hill and Rockvale and Leanna, as far as the other facilities. Of course, we know we lost the employee hut, I think is what, at Rock Crusher. As far as maybe updating some of these other facilities, do you have a written plan on things that you would like to see improved at some of these other facilities? And do you have a dollar amount with that?
Yes, Commissioner, I have a plan. The dollar amount goes toward the first phase of the plan, which is the buildings themselves, and unfortunately, all to be able to review prior to it. I'll be ready and prepared with that when I come before you next month to discuss it.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. You're going to bring to us next month.
Yes, as far as the Rock Crusher building itself, I have a building that it's almost complete. The drywall's up. It just needs to be finished and painted, and we're going to bring the Rock Crusher facility to replace the burnt hut there, so they have a shelter there. I was actually already working on this building because of the state of repair that building was in. Using materials that we had on hand, I cut a building that we had on hand in half, and I'm making one for the Rock Crusher and one for Almaville because they're both in bad shape. So yeah, it's pretty bad. But no, because of all of the things that we have going on in my abilities for the year, I wanted to make sure that what I put in the budget is only reflective of activities and actions that I feel like I can accomplish within the year. And then for the longer term plan or the 5-year plan, I would like to present how I would like to step forward with those things too.
One more thing before Bishop steps away. Just want to give everybody an update. Mr. Perry Construction Company, I believe signs are already out at all 4 locations saying coming soon, advertising, and I think they'll be starting, he's supposed to be starting quickly at Leanna. And so at least he got the signs up this past week, and so they're ready to start construction on those 4. And he's looking less than 12 months completion to getting those done. I also had a request talking about Rock Crusher from our road superintendent, Mr. Greg Brooks, who was here earlier. He asked that I bring it before the committee, Mr. Chairman, that this committee reconsider naming Rock Crusher Convenience Center to something else. So you all be thinking about it. Because we have Rutherford County Rock Crusher is right next door to where he crushes rocks. And when they see the sign, people see the sign, Rock Crusher, they're going into his facility and dropping, and the gate's closed, and they're just dropping trash there. So if this committee could come up with a different name, new signage, call it South East or Southwest or, Shovel Highway, call it something other than Rock Crusher, because we need to start educating our citizens where it's not confusing and where to dump the trash. If you could, Bishop, give the committee an update real quick on your facility and what's your anticipation of your move out to the Walter Hill site at our convenience center.
Yes, I met with Middle Tennessee Electric today. The poles are up. The power is to the pole. I'm meeting on Friday with an electrician to discuss how long it's going to be for them to connect the power from the poles to the building. We're pushing. I would hope to have that done within a week or 2, and then as soon as that power is on in the building, we're going to be starting to begin our move over. This will be a very strange move because we won't be ceasing operations, so it'll be my guys will be getting some overtime because a lot of the stuff will get moved over in open top containers from us, and then I'll be reaching out to building maintenance and their staff as well to help. They've offered to do that for us as well, and and everything, but the construction, as far as the remodeling and retrofitting and getting everything done on the inside is in really good shape. We're almost completely finished with that. And I know that everyone that's in my department is excited about the fact that we're all going to be together under one roof.
And talk about your new assistant.
Oh, yes, I have so it's a week ago yesterday, Pam Holden took a spot as my administrative assistant too. She formerly was with City of Murfreesboro School System. She was the maintenance, head of maintenance over there for a time. She has been the deputy finance director for schools for a time, and she is taken to life in solid waste at the county with a big smile on her face, and she's really been an asset. In the short time she's been there, I can tell she's going to be a real positive influence, and as you can tell by the look on my face, it's been a blessing to have her around for the last week. So.
Where the facility burned, is that center still open?
The center was only closed for one day for cleanup. I closed it on Friday for the fire marshal and for ATF to do their investigation, and then we cleaned the building up. By 3:45 that afternoon on Friday, it was all cleaned up. We reopened first thing Saturday morning. They do have a restroom, a porta potty facility that's there for them to use, and Commissioner Buchanan has graciously offered to supply overhead tent for them to use for the next couple days while I'm finishing up that building and getting that building out there to them. But I anticipate we'll have that building there pending good weather by mid next week.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anything else for Bishop? Thank you.
Thank you.
For other business, just a reminder, from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. This coming the 12th, right? Yes. Pratt Industries next door at room 205. This is a meeting that came about as a result of the mayor's meeting 2 weeks ago. The city of Murfreesboro in particular wanted to get to know Pratt a little better and talk numbers and understand their proposal a little bit. So it was a meeting facilitated by that request. So for those of you who make it, that would be great. But it is really a rehash of the Pratt proposal and discussion. Anything else?
Before you adjourn, I'm hearing a lot about we're not supporting Murfreesboro's efforts in what they're trying to do with the expansion landfill in Walter Hill. Do anybody here have any interest in trying to show our support or our help in that fight that they're in? Be any discussion from this committee on that subject, or is it just a dead subject?
What are you talking about? Like, you're saying that we should support Murfreesboro and not have our own ideas? I mean, why would I lock myself and put myself in a corner with Murfreesboro when we have so many options that we had to think about?
What I am just trying to get to you, Mr. Harris, is on the Jackson Law attempt that they're fighting and on the expansion of the landfill they're trying to stop. I'm not talking about what we're going to do with our trash in the future.
So I'm just trying to understand you. As far as the Jackson Law, are you saying that we should give money for their lawsuit? Match their money, which is what they're kind of requesting?
I only asked, would there be any discussion and is there any interest in helping them?
Okay.
I'm not saying anything. I asked if there was any interest in it.
I perceive quite a bit of interest. We've all, when the mayor had the mayors in, most of us attended that meeting. I know several of us have gone to the solid waste regional meeting. I certainly plan on attending this Thursday. So, you know, unless we can get into some concrete suggestions as to how we want to support, I can just say that I personally, and I know several commissioners have been present to support many of the efforts that the city has taken, and I continue to have an open mind with helping in any way we can.
Any other comments on that question? I think, Steve, right now, we're just going to let it roll as is until further development comes from lawsuit, attorneys, or TDEC. Anything else? Meeting adjourned.